Most people know marble for Greek statuary, Renaissance, Italy, the statue of David, that sort of thing. It does come with this framework of a language that doesn't seem relevant to us anymore. Marble had been obsessed with a monument, an empire, and all these things of grand importance. What I want to do is take this medium and say, oh, it just needs re-looking at. Sometimes tradition is just wrong or irrelevant. I really love reminding people to not trust their senses when they see, that I can make the material of marble look soft. To have that moment where you might doubt your senses and what you're looking at. My earliest work was really engaged with this idea of the everyday. I loved making garbage bags or cheap and nasty plastic objects. There was a subversion to it, but there's also a deliberate, up yours to history. But for me, I've actually been socially engaged. I've used the material to discuss issues in Australia today. So whether it be refugee and asylum seeker policy in Australia, post-Cronulla riots, nationhood, ideas of security and safety post 9/11. Because of the undeniable effort that goes into marble carving, people just see it and we're conceptually trying to get their head around it. They can see the effort. So there was sincerity there when I came to engage with things that I was concerned about. I don't treat marble with this rarity that is often afforded with. It's the history and the connotations that come with it that you're engaging with. I still use a lot of the traditional techniques like hammer and chisel and little riffler files and things like that, but not as often as you might think. The traditional dominance of Italian marble is because it does respond well to hammer and chisel. Australian marble has its own particular characteristics, and it didn't work to just hit it with a hammer and chisel. That's not how those things respond. Modern power tools all worked really well, all made sculpting as if it was more a plastic or soft material. I didn't have a lot of the traditional artisans that I would meet later in my life saying, you can't do that to marble. Well, you can't do that to Italian marble, but you can do that to Australian stone. You use spinning tools, little dental tools, can get really fine detail. There's also marble chainsaws, large angle grinders that have large discs on them, and we can cut quite quickly. And that's a really satisfying stage, very, very satisfying stage, the roughing out, seeing your idea suddenly just leap to life. Yeah, this is a piece of the warm Wombian marble from the traditional lands of the Gundungurra people. This is the marble I learned to carve on. This is the one I love the most, as in most personal to me. I grew up in country town, New South Wales, at Wombian Caves. My mum had come with her family from Egypt. They were fleeing the authoritarian regime of Abdel Nasser. I was heavily influenced as a kid by images I saw in the books of my mum on the sculpture of the pharaohs. That was all the first sculpture I saw, and I remember being fixated by that. There was a quarry, the Wombian marble quarry. So along the roadsides and things, there's always little bits of marble, and I started to play with those along with other bush materials. My dad gave me my first hammer and chisel when I was 8. From very early age, I knew I would be an artist, but I didn't know what kind of artist. Late 90s art school curriculum was all about postmodernism. So postmodernism said you take the hierarchy of materials and flip it on its head. That's what made me think that, hey, I'd grown up in this quarry, that it was a medium that perhaps I shouldn't rule out. I've started to play with these augmented reality sculptures, and so I actually ported a whole lot of my marble works using scanning or by building it in a 3D program into the augmented reality sculpture space. You can take your device and you can place the work within your immediate proximity and have a physical interaction. You can do away with all the weightiness of the material. You don't actually have to, a big moving truck and move it into your house. What it also means is you can change your reality a little bit, your physical reality, just a little bit. I was able to go around and put them, on the plinths of statues of old colonials, for instance, and just replace them. I just don't like that artwork there, I'll put my own. You're actually starting to blur the line between those digital and analog experiences. It's about creating a portal between those worlds. As more and more we will merge in the future towards a real hybrid of that. Every generation looks for a way to express something that speaks to the here and now. The thing that kept me coming back to marble thinking it's not irrelevant is that we lead very digital lives. The tangible appreciation of material to touch and to have a physical interaction with it is actually at the heart of being alive. And you'll need that reminder and that contrast. So I've always had a foot in both the digital world and the analog world. I've found in many different ways that this material is actually more relevant than ever. Rather than moving on, in fact, I've dug in.